Hi, welcome to Preps Plus Podcast, episode 23, brought to you by Sterling Auto Group. I'm Joshua Hart, sports editor here at the Daily News. I'm here with Jason Leskiw,
Hey.
Our Preps reporter. We're here to break down all four of our local football teams left. We had 11 a week ago, and we're down to 4.
Yeah.
As well as we'll break down our state volleyball teams, at least for Castle Rock. With our 2B and 1B playing Thursday, we're a lot of them are still in progress today. So we'll provide our kind of preview for Castle Rock, go over Jason's story on their assistant coach a little bit, and then hop right into the 4 remaining football teams. So that's kind of the plan today. We also have interview with Corbyn, Byrnes. Did Alex Dyer stop by too?
Alex Dyer as well.
So we have interviews with both those Kalama Chinooks players, obviously one of our area's leading tacklers, and then a quarterback who's put up some just crazy numbers this year. So that's what's on tap. We will start with Castle Rock Volleyball, though. Jason, you saw them at the district championship last week. You've written a story about them within the past week. Give the lowdown on Castle Rock Volleyball as they start their state tournament on Friday.
They are as talented as their undefeated record suggests. They can block, and not just from one, maybe 2 players. They have a couple. They have really probably 4 players, starters out of their 6 that can be effective. They rotate players really well, as far as there's nobody on the bench that hasn't played a fair bit this season. There's not one person hitting, taking 75 swings a game, that sort of thing. They have depth galore, talent galore, and at this point they're my favorite to win a state title.
Yeah, it's interesting that they have the most depth of any volleyball team I've ever seen. Adna Dolan's a fantastic player, certainly, but you have Zoe Noggle, and you have Rachel Anderson, and you have Kendall Kirkendall, and you have Logan Golden, and freshman setter Renee Holter's been fantastic for them.
Yeah.
Just a really, really deep squad, and that's so hard for volleyball teams to go against, where they can't pick the weak link, because they can all play defense too. It's not like one of them can be picked on. It's just really been fun to watch the growth of that squad. We knew they had talent last year, but this year it's been interesting to watch how they've developed as a team. You wrote a story on one of their assistants that's joined the squad this year. How much has he helped help the program? That story obviously can be found in Thursday's edition of the Daily News. But speak a little bit to kind of how Parker Watts has impacted the Castle Rock volleyball team.
Well, I went out there about the midway point of the season, and if you want to, also I'll plug another podcast we did about 5-6 weeks ago. I forget the episode number, but I'll tell you what, we'll try and link it in the comments section or something here, with Anna Dolan and Coach Gina Bays. And after we finished, Gina said, "Oh, well, that's Parker Watts, by the way. He's basically an assistant. He's a student here, but he's one of the most talented volleyball players I think I'll ever see. And he's been kind of the man behind the curtain, so to speak, as far as the coaching and pulling girls aside, working with girls on anything from hitting to blocking to setting. The guy can do it all, and he can teach it really well. And I think his biggest contribution is just his personality. He's got a real calm demeanor. He can counterbalance Gina Bay's super energetic personality, and that I think has really helped the team remain consistent.
Right. It's interesting, I knew I hadn't met the kid yet, but you can always kind of gauge a story based on kind of the response on social media. And as a sports editor, you worry about a lot of things, but one of the things I worried about with this story was taking away from the girls' accomplishments by highlighting a guy. But so that was kind of my worry. But when the social media response from Whitney Lukow from RA Long or Carrie Smith from LCC was like, wow, this is an amazing kid, great job, Parker, from Gina Bays, they all realize just how impactful he is to this team this year, and seems like a super great kid. Everyone seems to respect him in the community a lot. So from a 15, 16-year-old kid to kind of have that much respect, says something a lot about his character, I think. Castle Rock volleyball, though, has to have the absolute toughest draw they can possibly get. First game, Coopville, they can get by. That's fine. Second game, you're either playing in the quarterfinals the defending state champs and undefeated Lakeside of 9 Mile Falls, or Kings, which, if you know anything about Kings out of Everett or North Seattle, they dominate pretty much everything as a private school. So the quarterfinal game, not easy for Castle Rock. Of course, if they win that, if they manage to top the defending state champs or Kings or whoever it may be Friday, then they have to turn around the next day and in the semifinals play Linden Christian, which anybody who follows 1A volleyball knows Linden Christian owns more than their handful of titles. I don't think they can probably fit all the trophies they've earned in their arms, and coached by Kim Greisel up there. They're a phenomenal program. So if Castle Rock does win the state title or go to the state title game, they're going to have to take a very tough path to get there. So a real tough draw for them, but you got to beat the best to be the best, right?
That's right.
Moving over to football, another team with an absolutely horrendous draw. The Kalama Chinooks face Adna in the first round. Number 1 ranked team in the state versus the number 4 ranked team in the state in the first round. The reason this happens is because they don't want to have the Mountain 1 and Mountain 2 matching up against each other. So that would have been Napavine and Adna. So they flex the game. They say, Adna, you're going to go play Kalama. Rainier, you're going to, or at the time, the number 2 seed would have been Wahkiakum. Wahkiakum, you're going to go play Napavine. Rainier, of course, wins that matchup. You still end up with a Mountain on Mountain first round matchup, and now you have Adna playing Kalama. How does this make sense?
Well, if you're asking for an affirmation,
I understand Napavine's thing of like, well, how does it make sense a Mountain team playing a Mountain team? Mountain 1 versus Mountain 2. But is Kalama, if one of them has to play Adna in the first round, now, I think they should have, as long as we're changing things, like, why not just flex it all the way? And we can all rank the teams 1 through 6. It's real easy.
Right.
Kalama, Napavine, Adna, PWV, Rainier, Toledo. I'm pretty sure you can get 19 coaches to agree on that, or at least be close enough in agreement that based on a poll, that based on a poll you can rank them that way, which would avoid all that situation altogether. You'd end up with like PWV playing Napavine, which is a slightly more fair matchup for everybody. But I feel bad for Adna. I feel bad for Kalama. It shouldn't be in this situation. If we're going to go on a rotation, which was what was agreed upon when the league was created, let's just rotate it and may the odds, may the teams fall wherever. But if we're changing things, let's change it in a way that makes sense. And so Kalama starts with Adna. They will then face PWV, presumably, if they win. Then they will face Napavine, presumably, if everything goes as planned. And then they will face Liberty, presumably. So if Kalama wins the state title, again, like Castle Rock, they will have earned it. Because they will have played the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th ranked teams in the state. What state championship team has to do that?
Right. Well, I think the biggest thing, I think that there's a ton of more trivial points to argue about, flexing a game for various reasons. But I think the biggest can of worms is that it starts to set a precedent for, what if some team or somebody doesn't want a certain team to play that team? What if Adna beats Napavine, 4 years in a row every time they play, and they know, they've already Adna whoops Napavine 1 year, to the point where that there's no way they could keep up if they played, and someone decides, hey, I'm not saying this would happen, but it opens the door for it, and a few other things that are similar to that point, and that's the biggest thing that I think I have a problem with.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if we're gonna change things, let's change it in a way that makes sense. And the thing is, the Southwest 2B League has control over this. They get to decide who goes into the, like I said in my column that ran in Thursday's paper, is the WIA's state seeding has its own flaws. We all know this. It's why basketball went to an RPI. I hear that RPI might be on its way to football. But, at least get your own stuff right. And I know it's complex with 6 teams and fighting for what district seeds, but if we're going to go with a rotation, stay to the rotation. And if we're going to go with changing the things, let's not have Adna and Kalama meet in the first round just because they're not division opponents. What if Napavine takes second, right? And Napavine plays Kalama. They've already played this season. Just because they're not in the division, all the top teams are playing each other. Adna played PWV, Kalama played Napavine. They're all playing each other in this league. So it doesn't make a difference if it's in the division or not.
Right.
Anyway, that's my beef with the whole thing. I don't think it's fair to either Adna or Kalama this week. That being said, how do you see this game breaking down?
I see Kalama winning by 2 touchdowns or so. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. They know Kalama, I'm fairly confident, know what Adna's going to throw at them, what Adna wants to do. I'm sure you could probably say the same with Adna and, on the flip side of the token there. But I think that just Kalama is going to execute better. They have more talent. They have an outrageous amount of talent. And so I just think I think it's going to be 2 to 3 touchdowns. Kalama wins over Adna.
I think it'll be a little closer. But the thing that Kalama boasts is that they don't play a lot of guys 2 ways. And that's just something other 2B teams can't keep up with. They have to start a little bit more efficiently on defense than they did last week, but that defense is phenomenal. The most intriguing matchup for me is Alex Dyer versus the Adna defense. The Adna hasn't allowed more than 20 points this season. I mean, they've had 4 shutouts, just a really, really good defense, and so I'm kind of wondering how Dyer operates in that. But I mean, Dyer has shown all year that pretty much he can name the score.
Yeah.
It's I think he has the past 3 weeks he's had 6 touchdowns a game, something like that.
More than that, I think he had 6 touchdowns against Toledo alone, if I remember correctly.
Well, that's what I'm saying, 6 touchdowns each game.
Oh, each game.
Yeah,
yeah.
I think he's had 6 or 7 touchdowns each of the past 4 weeks.
Yeah, and then they can run the ball well too. So
yeah, so interesting to see that game. I'll be at that game this Friday. Jason will, of course, be in Yakima covering state volleyball, so you can follow him on Twitter. I'll be at Adna Kalama. You can follow me on Twitter. And we'll jump right in. I think now's a good time to jump right into that Alex Dyer and Corbyn Byrnes interview with Jason, so we'll head straight into that.
I'm here with Alex Dyer and Corbyn Byrnes, quarterback and linebacker of the Kalama Chinooks, respectively, football team. Hey guys, how's it going?
Well, pretty good.
All right, you guys are undefeated. First off, how does that feel, and kind of does that even matter at this point, I guess?
Feels pretty good. It hasn't been done for a while in the program. I think the last time it happened was when Sean was in high school, coach. So, it's just always a positive, not losing the game. And it feels pretty good. It's nice. I say the worst part about it is going into the state tournament, ranked number 1. Everybody wants you. Everybody wants to play you. Everybody wants to beat you. So we have that target on our back. But other than that, it feels pretty good.
Okay.
I think it's always nice to come out on top, number 1 in state. You always get the good bracket play and stuff like that. You always get to play the 3s and the 4s and stuff like that from other leagues. So that really helps you out maybe in the long run if you want to go to the state championship.
Okay. And obviously, one thing that's helped you guys kind of get to this point is you guys are the complete team: offense, defense, every special teams, all that stuff. Are you guys surprised at how well the season has gone so far? Did you guys kind of expect this, or maybe expect some of it but not quite all of it?
This is. I knew once we came together and we played how we've been playing all season long that I kind of figured this how it would be after last year, and just kind of seeing what we can do. We had little moments showing us what our potential was, and then this year I think we've just fully shown what our potential is, and just shown teams what we are.
Okay.
I think it was after our spring football camp went to Camp Riley that we realized we were playing the 4, 5A teams from Oregon. We were playing with them, beat most of them, and you just realized you're like, wow, we really got a team, really got a shot to go deep this year, especially with our D line and stuff like that. We're just super, super deep. Got a lot of athletic kids.
Okay, and you guys obviously started the season again with a win against a good 2A team in Woodland.
Not only that, but our biggest rival too.
And you're right. Yeah, definitely what's the term? A natural geographical rival there. How did that provide even more of a confidence boost, or like a?
Yeah, I think that was huge. I mean, it's always huge getting that first win of the season, and then you have it against Woodland, who's a good team, not only 2 times the size of us, but also way more kids on their football team, and to come out on top on a team like that is just really big momentum booster. I think it really helped us boost into week 2 and that win over Napavi too.
Right.
Yeah.
That was another tough one for you guys.
Yeah. And after last year losing, I think we lost, what was it, 40 to 15, 40-14 or something like that. Both those games we got blown out, and then we come back and beat Woodland. I'm like, all right, we can play with Napavi. We come back, beat Napavi, and then we were feeling pretty much on top of the world after that.
Right.
Hasn't stopped since.
Yeah, no, that 40. I think it was 40-6, and you're talking about the postseason game against Napavi.
Well, both of them were both total blowouts.
Okay. Yeah, the 40. The Napavi game to me was. Being that 2B football is a different kind of football than 2A, Woodland throws a ton and that sort of thing. But, the win against Napavi to me, even though the school size is different, was one that said the most.
Yeah.
For playoff reasons and that sort of thing. How has the postseason been so far for you guys? I know the box score says one thing, the stats say one thing, but being on the field is unique. How has that felt, and how tell us kind of how that's been.
It's been hard with the rain and the cold and stuff. I mean, I feel like right when the postseason hit, that's when it started getting cold and wet. It's definitely been different, but I feel like we've stayed focused. We know that's a pretty much new season once you hit there, because you're playing different teams and you lose and you're done. So we just really got to focus up and have good weeks.
Okay.
I think the rain, always affects getting stuff done at practice, staying focused. Everybody's cold, everybody's trying to stay dry, but I think for the most part we've stayed pretty focused and held our stuff together. Stay pretty good for it.
Okay. And then one thing I talked to Corbyn about yesterday, but I'm sure you're super appreciative as a quarterback. But the off-season conditioning program, and we'll have a story on this on tdnpreps.com. Link to this has been a monster boost for the team.
Yeah.
As a quarterback, how much of a difference has there been as far as feeling pressure, getting sacked, and those sorts of things?
Oh, our line, it's a totally different line this year, I feel like. I just feel like our offseason was so much more than it was the year before. I feel like we got way more reps. Going to that camp was huge for us, and it seemed like a completely different line. Last year, I felt like I was running for my life, and this year I have all the time in the world. And the conditioning helps with wide receivers when we want to do our hurry-up offense, and we can just go. And with our rotations and stuff, the other team gets tired by halftime, and we come out and we're still ready to go. So I
Right.
feel like our offseason was probably the biggest part that led into this.
Yeah, I think certainly in every bit of homework I did coming into the season kind of said that Jacob Hersberg was going to get the ball, 40% of the plays, something like that, right?
Yeah.
And you've managed to connect with Tucker Wetmore a good 12 times for scores.
Yeah.
I forget his yardage total, but I know it's really high. Several other guys. The run game has been terrific. How do you guys feel like you have played your signature game of the year, so to speak? Was that Napa Vine game to 1 or?
I don't think we've played a perfect game yet.
I think there's still one.
Yeah.
I think there's still.
Even the Napline game, you watched that. There
were many plays. In that
lots of
game
penalties, misassignments, and stuff like that.
You
We
know,
still got
I mean-
a long ways to go.
Yeah, I don't think the game. If I'm being honest, I don't think the game should ever win in overtime. I mean, we had the 70-yard touchdown that got called back because our lineman was downfield. You take that away, we get that score right there. We had penalties that pushed us back in the red zone, and those held us from scoring. I think we had 2 or 3 red zone drives where we didn't even end up scoring. We ended up turning over on down. So I think if you look at that game and you realize, if they could have fixed this, and that, then it would have been a whole different ball game. We would have won maybe 28-7, 35-7, something like that. Which I totally think that we have the potential to really beat anyone like that in the state. Which is kind of just nice to know that, once our offense gets going, there's nothing stopping it.
Right.
And our defense can back up our offense just as well as our offense can support our defense.
Okay.
So that's a huge part for us. But I think there's still a perfect game to be played for us.
All right.
Yeah.
And that game, another game that I got to witness was Toledo, and that was a game where it's funny. Josh had picked Toledo because of the conditions.
Yeah.
We had believed that based on the weather reports that it was just going to be pouring rain the whole time, and that the defensive schemes and offensive schemes that they were going to run were going to make it closer. It was actually, I think, one of you guys' closest games. You guys' league point differential, I think, is like 40 points.
Yeah.
And that was more like 20 or something.
21 points with
But it was still
this
nice
guy.
to put 40 points up
Yeah.
on too. Which,
Right.
when you put up 40 points on anyone, that's good. And they scored 21, but I feel like it was 42-21, I think. But I felt like we just physically dominated them, and that's what helped us win that game a lot.
Obviously on defense, right?
Yeah.
With what being that they're still in the playoffs and that sort of thing, there's a chance you guys play them again.
Yeah.
What did you guys see on tape in that game after you guys watched it on Monday or whatnot?
I didn't think we played very well. We had moments, but I think we could have played a lot better.
Again,
I think really in any game this season we could have played better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a matter about every week just getting better and better.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was just one of those games where we had a couple holding calls, false starts that just kind of are drive killers that we should have scored on that we didn't end up doing. And I feel like we probably should have ran the ball more that game just because of the conditions.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like our defense played good. 21 points.
Right.
That's pretty
It's a team
good for
that's
that
blown out anyway.
for a Toledo team like that. That's pretty good, I think.
Right.
Holding them. I
Yeah.
think we held them under. I think they've rushed for 300 yards every single game this year, and I think we were the only team to hold them under
Right.
their usual amount.
Yeah, I think save for the game you guys played in, I think their season opener, if I remember correct, they were just shy of 300 yards, and
Yeah.
their goal is always to have 3 different players rush for 100 yards apiece
Yeah.
too, and they've
Yeah.
accomplished that most. So
So that was a big plus on. We shut down basically. One of their backs had a long run, but if you take that long run away, he didn't have very many yards. And Keaton, he's just a hard worker, such a great runner. It's pretty hard to stop him, but if you could shut down 2 other guys, then you can't put it all on Keaton.
right,
Yeah.
right. What about their defense? What did they show you anything that was something that you hadn't seen a lot?
Between that, that was probably one of the better D lines we saw.
Okay.
perspective of like getting pressured and stuff like that. So that was a little harder to throw the ball. But it just helps when you have so many athletic wide receivers. I feel like their athleticism wasn't comparable to us, but they got a lot of pressure in the backfield. That was one big thing.
Okay. You guys obviously have gaudy stats. What'd you say, 100 yesterday, 114 tackles right now?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. And then I forget, I have your passing totals. I know they're through the roof also. Tucker Wetmore's another guy who's
He's
12. Yeah.
15 total touchdowns or something like that.
Yeah. It seems like he's got about an interception for every game, doesn't he?
Yep, and half the time it goes to the house.
Right. Yeah.
He had a streak where he had 3 straight games with a pick 6 in every game. Yeah.
What was that?
It was Wakayakan, Winlock, and
Can't remember what other games.
Mossy Rock.
Mossy. Okay.
That was
Yeah.
the home game.
It was his 3rd touchdown in like the first minute and a half of the
Oh,
game.
my goodness.
I think it
Yeah,
was-
that guy goes on streaks, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, it just once he touches the ball, you just know something funky's gonna happen because he could literally run all the way to one sideline, juke the whole team out, run to the other sideline, back to the other one, and end up scoring. And it's tiring to run on those plays. It's tiring.
Yeah, trying to find someone to block
make
on
the
that.
blocks and everything. I know Alex sometimes stands there. I just want to watch it. I just want to see what he
Just stand
does.
there and watch him zigzag the whole field.
And it's just crazy. I don't know how he does it. But
Yeah,
it's
he's one of the
cool.
kids that like totally stepped up from last year. I think last year he scored.
I don't even know.
I don't even know if he scored. I think he scored 1 or 2 times all season. And he just came out of nowhere.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
he's
he's-
been really. I mean, he worked so hard on just like everything, and I mean, he's grown. He's put on
Yeah.
weight. He's gotten so
Yeah, he
much
was one of those kids
faster,
that showed up to the weight room every single day.
Okay.
and you can totally tell. I mean, you can compare his film from last year to this year, and just he's a completely different player. I think that's one of the biggest game changers for us.
Okay.
Also, our D line having so much depth.
Yeah,
Right.
there.
rotating guys all the time.
Literally, all of our D linemen are just so good.
And you guys are still able to rotate all 6 guys there, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Which
I
that's
think
that's
there's
hard.
7 actually.
There's 7
Yeah, I
now.
think we have 7.
and
Okay.
there's not a single weak link out of any of them.
No, they're all good. They all go hard. Yeah, that's the best part.
Okay. And I was just wondering, has Wetmore and Hers raced in practice at all?
I don't think we've had that yet.
Because after you mentioned how quick he was, I was starting to think,
Yeah,
that might actually be a close one.
I think Tucker's a little bit slower than Jake. I think once Jake gets on a straight line and
Yeah.
nobody's
Right.
around, nobody's touching.
I think
him.
Tucker might be a little shiftier side to side, but
Got it.
Jake's
And
got
Jake,
that.
Jake has that he has that Tyreek Hill speed.
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah.
So he can literally just run straight at you, run by you. Alex can float it right over the top of him, and he'll just catch it.
Mhm.
I remember my sophomore year at the center game. I didn't get to play that game because I had a concussion, so I had to film. And literally, if you just look at the film, he runs straight at the guy, runs straight by him, and Isaac Truesdale just throws it right over the top, right into his arms. Just 2 times for 2 scores. Just like he's just so fast, and that's like just huge for our offense. It's just having someone that can literally beat anyone in a foot race. It's
Okay.
just having that speed, and then Tucker can totally do it too. So it's nice to have 2 of those guys. That's a huge part of our offense.
Okay. And kind of bouncing back to the fact that you guys have stayed so healthy this year. I think
That's what I was going to talk about too. Is just like how thankful we've been for not having any injuries.
Mhm.
I mean, we had one kid. I mean, one of our D linemen didn't get play last week because he wasn't feeling sick. But like other than that, like we've been so gifted with no injuries. I mean, knock on wood.
Right.
I mean, but it's been so nice, and I think that's a huge part of the strength and conditioning is like you work out for 3 months straight to help you stay healthy for the next 5 months, 4 or 5 months a season, and I think that's a huge part
Okay.
of us staying healthy. Plus, I mean, I think the best part, we know we do team dinner every Thursday night, so everybody always gets a good meal before Friday. Everybody's always feeling good on game day, and so I think that's just a huge part of staying healthy.
Okay. And Alex, how as a quarterback, you're probably not, when you're lifted, you're probably not focusing much on or as much on bench or doing power cleans as some other guys. What's the exercise that you've been emphasizing this year?
We try to just get up and run and throw,
Okay.
just to get in shape and get your arms stronger. Go up to the field, just play some long toss and run routes, just to get your timing down. But Sean still liked to push me a lot in the weight room, just to get as big as all the other guys.
How about how important is shoulder strength for those deep balls?
Huge.
Okay.
Because especially when we went back to camp, I mean, I threw hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. We'd scrimmage and play 7-on-7s, and my shoulder was done after that.
It was 10 hours of football every day.
Yeah, I mean, what was it, 2-3 days straight of just throwing
football barely ever
hundreds
left
of
Alex,
balls, and my shoulder was toast after that.
Yeah.
But I think it helped me a lot.
I mean, from my perspective, seeing Alex and watching him work out last year and the year before that, I mean, you can just tell how much he has changed this year and how much stronger he's just gotten. I mean, I think your sophomore and freshman year, I think you're benching like 135, if that, and then like this year you could like keep up with me a little bit. And so like that was just huge, seeing how much strength you've gained, and you can totally tell by the way you throw the ball too. She's a totally different person.
Okay. How much, or was it shoulder press or, what in the world it was called? I know the motions. I can't come up with the names anymore. I used to know the names, but those shrugs.
Oh, yeah.
Shoulder shrugs. What's is there one as far as weights go? Shoulder lifting.
What we did a lot of was like hand strength, what
Okay.
Sean wanted me to do, and we would put one of those big rubber bands on the end of a bench bar, and put a 25-pound weight on the bottom of it, and I'd roll it up and then roll it back down, and then roll it up and roll it back down, just to strengthen my forearm, so I could, especially in wet games where you can grip the ball and still throw it.
Interesting.
I remember me and Alex we'd go back and forth and do like little tiny forearm workouts and see if we could go longer or see if we could do more. I think that was a huge part of helping him throw a lot better.
You guys sit in front of the TV with those grippy. Those even have a
Little
name.
clamp thing.
Yeah, they're like a
Yeah.
clamp, like a spring.
I've done that before, a time or two. They kind of get hard though.
Yeah.
They're really hard to do. I mean, they're really good for you, but they're hard to do.
Yeah. No, I remember I used to do those. I got in like a habit of just like where I just wanted to not like and if I was sitting down in front of the tube, I just wanted to like do something.
Yeah.
And 2-3 minutes of that.
You're burning. You're
Yeah.
You're burning. I think that was a huge part with Tucker too. He would do the forearm workouts with us too, and you can totally tell by the way he catches the ball this year compared to last year. Like he can catch the ball over top of anyone and rip it right out of their hands.
Okay.
It's just, I think just the forearm workouts help your hands so much more than anyone realizes.
Okay. It sounds like it. That's something I know. When I was a kid, one thing that was emphasized was your leaping ability.
Yeah.
That was big.
Which I mean, Tucker.
Yeah, Tucker can jump out of the gym.
He can
Yeah.
Pop the rim. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he can dunk like a volleyball or something, but that kid can jump.
Mm-hmm.
He can jump really high.
Well, was he as tall last year as he
I
is
don't
now?
think he was.
I think he might have grown about an inch or two, maybe.
I don't know.
Well,
Might be
He's
the
gotten
hair.
a lot more broad. Like,
Okay.
I feel like he's always been tall.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, but I feel like before he was just kind of scrawny, and this year he kind of just like filled out, got a little wider, got a little broader. So I mean, I think that's huge part on how he's gotten better. It's just him maturing more.
Okay. I think he wins probably the best hair in the 2B.
Yeah.
Probably, I would vote for him. Him or Griggs when Griggs had his moment.
You got to get mullet.
Yeah.
That's right. I got a glimpse of that yesterday. That was impressive.
His is long.
Yeah.
Him and Tucker both look like girls from behind. If they don't have guy clothes on, they look like girls. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
I was curious about what watching film with Sean is like. You guys do that on Monday, right?
Every Monday for an hour.
How is that? Is that not so fun? It looks like.
Oh no, it's fun. It's just funny sometimes.
He picks it apart.
it's funny. Like you watch your film and you just watch yourself and you make your highlights and you do all that. And, I mean, you don't really focus on anything else. And then when you watch it as a team and you watch it with your coach watching you, and then you see what other people are doing. And, it can be funny. but it also helps us realize that there's a lot more things that we need to fix. So I think that's the biggest part about watching it with him is he lets us know what we're doing wrong and what we're doing right. More what we're doing wrong because that's what we need to focus on more. But I think it's good. It's good to get in a classroom with the team. Everybody's with each other. Everybody talks to each other about how their weekend was. We all catch up with each other and then we watch film for about an hour and a half, and then we usually go up to the field, run for about 20 minutes, work on some passing plays, and then that's usually a Monday practice.
Right, like kind of recovery still.
Yeah, just like get the flow back in your legs and everything. Just kind of abolish some of the soreness. Yeah.
Have you guys also, being that you guys have had such a successful turnout in the strength, scheme of things, have you guys also changed the recovery process at all, or added or subtract anything from it?
I think more than ever, I think we ran a lot more.
Yeah.
Okay.
This off season than any other season. I mean, recovery, just basically just getting out and doing something, just working your legs more to get that soreness out. But I mean, other than that, we just ran. We ran a lot. So you can tell. There's been multiple games where we can two platoon our whole team, and we have 11 guys who play offense that game. We have 11 guys who play defense that game. We usually do it for about a quarter or two, but we're perfectly fine.
Right.
We could honestly do it a whole game if we wanted to.
Right.
Which is you could totally just tell that we trained hard, and you can totally tell on the field when we play.
Okay. What about I guess as far as sleep, stretching, anything like that? No changes there?
Not a whole lot. We've always stretched stuff after workouts.
We usually do
like
partner stretches that Sean did at college, and special stretches that help stretch the tight muscles that you do after your squat or something like that. We usually only stretch after leg day or stuff like that. Stuff when you're doing high reps for your legs, whether it's back squat, front squat, power cleans. It's always good to get a good leg stretch in.
Okay.
On those days.
All right.
Help get the blood flow.
All right, then I'm going to pivot a little bit to kind of, this will be kind of the last question basically, but Kalama volleyball, Thursday's the opening round, then Friday is kind of trophy day. Have you guys gotten a chance to watch any volleyball? Or?
Yeah, we go to most home games.
Okay. How do you think they'll do? You think they're going to repeat?
I think they'll give some teams a run for their money, for sure. Those Killinger girls are good. Yeah. Capio's in the middle. She's tall.
I know they're definitely not the team they were last year, but you never know to be.
Right.
Anyone can beat anyone.
Yeah. Are you guys surprised also too that they lose 4 really dominant players and then they're still kind of in the mix for another title?
I think it's a lot of coaching too. I think Jenny O'Neill's a super, super good coach.
She works those girls hard.
Yeah.
They're...
Yeah?
I don't know if I could make it to one of their practices.
I don't think I could. I've seen them. They'll come up to the field. They'll run around the track. I think, I forget what they call it.
The stadium mile.
The stadium mile.
Go up, they zigzag the stairs.
They run
zigzag the stairs.
They run 5 laps, and they run the big stadium stairs, and then you run half the lap, and you go run the other stadium stairs, and then you finish that lap, and then you do that. I think they do that 5 times.
Good Lord.
And they're not allowed to stop. I'm no, I probably couldn't do that.
I saw that during one of your early fall practices, a week or two before the season started, and I thought that was the cross country team.
They'd probably be good at cross country, right? Because the first 2 weeks of practice that we have, it's hot outside. It's not cold whatsoever.
Right.
They're out there every day, if not every other day, doing that. And I'm just I could not do that. It was way too much. And then because. You'll be driving around town, and you see a volleyball girl running. It's she's training. She's training for those stadium miles. Yep.
You know who it is, then, huh?
Yeah. Oh, they totally have to prepare themselves for that because I don't think I would make that. I couldn't do it.
All right. Well, there you have it. Kalama volleyball, possibly the most conditioned team at state.
Oh, yeah.
All right. We'll get back to our rest of our podcast. Thanks, guys, for coming out. And, yeah, really appreciate it. Good luck Friday and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
And we're back. So we'll jump right into breaking down the rest of the teams, starting with Friday night's Nacelle versus Nia Bay. That's going to be actually 7 p.m. in Nacelle. That one's intriguing. Somewhat of a tough draw. So technically at the 1B level, it's not state yet. It's still part of the quad district tournament, but the winner goes into the state quarterfinals. So it's similar to a state first round game, just as far as the magnitude of it. They get a Nia Bay team who's down as far down as a Nia Bay team can get. This team that's won, I think, like 5 titles in the past decade. Fantastic team they usually have up there. They're a little bit down, so the record doesn't suggest that they can keep up with Nacelle, but Nacelle also hasn't played in a week. They come off the Sunnyside Christian game in which they lost to a fantastic team by a handy margin, and I wonder how that'll affect them. I don't know how high school players deal with a week off like that. It's not like NFL players as much that they need a whole week to recover physically, but so I'm wondering if they'll be on their game, but they certainly have a multitude of athletes that can compete. But Nia Bay is a perennial power, and Nacelle consistently likes to test themselves against those perennial powers, whether it be Lummi or Sunnyside Christian or Nia Bay. And in the past, they've fallen short. But they do get the home field advantage, so that'll be an interesting game. A prediction for that one, Jason?
I think Nacelle squeaks by. I think they're going to need some luck. Honestly, I have them in the Pigskin Profits as my pick. I think they're going to need some luck, but I think the one big thing, as you mentioned, having that week off. Donnie Edwards has been playing hurt all year, and I'm not saying a week's going to make the ultimate difference there or enough of a difference there, but I think he's been the guy's all over the field, and so. Having a guy like that actually healthy, he's all over the field when he's hurt, but when he's healthy, it's still, an obvious difference for anybody. I would have to imagine, including him, so I think they squeak by, with a touchdown maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think guys like Antonio Nolan and stuff like those type of playmakers are people that Nacelle hasn't had in the past. Of like they're usually like have these huge linemen and run it up the gut type of team. The past couple of years they've gotten into more of like a spread style type of version of 8-man. So
and Cole Dorman can sling it.
Yeah,
I mean, that dude can throw. For what I think he's probably a rarity as far as 1B schools go, because he can throw like you'd see in a 3A, 4A.
Yeah, for sure. He's not a run-first quarterback. He's a pocket passer, and he's good at it.
Yeah.
So I think Nia Bay probably wins. Just they have the experience, and they always produce a lot of athletes. And I don't know exactly what they bring in this year, but I think Nia Bay, but Nacelle will keep it close for sure. And then on Saturday, we have 2 teams taking long road trips. We'll start with Toledo at Concrete. Jason, you've seen Toledo a lot this year. What are they looking for in that game after coming off a 35-0, I want to say 35 or 34-0 win over Ilwaco?
Well, I mean, they did against Ilwaco as they've done to a lot of teams where, everybody knows they're running, and they run it. And they still get 10 yards, and so I kind of expect more of the same. I talked, as some of you guys heard, after the audio portion with the Kalama guys there, Dyer and Byrnes. We talked a little bit about the technical side of facing Toledo, and they were frustrated. They made a lot of big plays against the run. Toledo fumbled a ton and things like that, but Toledo still moved the ball, and you heard Corbyn and Alex Dyer say just how tough it is, even though they know what's coming. They still run the ball, and that they've had 300 rushing yards against everybody, almost except for Kalama, obviously. But so I expect the same thing.
It'll be interesting. Concrete's really beat up right now. They have a ton of injuries. And you're right. Toledo's done a really good job, I think, this year with Mike Christensen. I know a lot of people say, it's a down year for Toledo, but remember before that senior class of Toledo that came in led by Dalton Yoder and all those guys, Toledo wasn't any good. Like for a couple of years there, they weren't any good. Right. So like what Mike Christensen's been able to do with basically a fresh group has been really impressive. And those running backs are all really impressive. I think Toledo's like, I just don't think the District 1 teams deserve to have the seeding they get. Like, why should Concrete and Toledo be playing? You know, Adna or Kalama is going to be sitting home next week, but Toledo or Concrete will be moving on. Mm-hmm. That's what I don't understand.
Right.
Because Adna and Kalama are both better teams. But I'm going to get off my gripe about this. I've been hammering it for too long. I do think Toledo goes up there and wins, though. We will have a freelancer up there. She's still working on providing me her Twitter info, so we'll get you that. Just if you follow us on Twitter, I will tweet that out at some point Saturday. That game's at 2 p.m. in Cedar Woolley. Really nice turf field up there. Terrible stands, though, so Toledo fans, bring whatever you have to be able to sit on really uncomfortable bleachers. And then, of course, Rainier has a 7-hour road trip to the Mountain Time Zone. I think that's, so Rainier last year played in the Alaska Time Zone. I don't know what.
They're actually playing in the Mountain Time Zone?
And this year they get to play in the Mountain Time Zone. Okay. Yeah, so it's just west of Boise, Nissa. Okay. So Rainier's traveling to Nissa. It's just west of Boise. Game is scheduled for 1 p.m. Mountain Time, so that means it's noon Pacific Time. They're, of course, traveling up the night before.
Right.
Or I hope they are.
I hope they are.
I would assume since it's a one game that they can get back. But as I said last week, Rainier has a better draw than Klatskanai does. And they got by Lapine. Great game-ending drive. Joey Tripp was fantastic as always. Basically everything Rainier does, they did against Lapine. Got by Lapine. And now they face Nissa, so Nissa Vale and Nissa are in the same league. So for those that watched the Klatskanai game last week, Nissa beat Vale barely to win the league title. So I put Nissa and Vale roughly in similar territory. Mm-hmm. They haven't played many people or big teams because they're out in the middle of nowhere. So Rainier has a very winnable game. Joey Tripp is fantastic. Still our front runner for All Area Player of the Year, I would have to say. We have to have those discussions internally here. But what he's done defensively, what he's done offensively has been fantastic. I think Rainier goes down and wins this game, and they're in the state semifinals. Your thoughts, Jason?
I'm not quite as confident as you are. I think they stand a chance, but I think as you said, Vale and Nissa are similar teams. Klatskanai just fell. Klatskanai beat Rainier, and although both games were down to the wire and those sorts of things, anytime that happens, I kind of wonder, okay, is this basically it's a toss-up at that point to me. Is kind of what I'm getting at. Is when you have a team that passes as much as Rainier does, there's still a lot that can go wrong. You can have a big turnover, and it goes both ways. It's not just on their side. So, I almost am to the point of flip a coin for my pick. I'm pretty sure I picked Rainier when I looked at it more closely, but I think it's going to be the close of our couple games. To me, I think it's going to be the closest of them all.
Yeah, it was interesting. And I assume this is a slightly better team than Vale based on the score of that game. Vale was so disciplined. They were just a really, really well-coached team. Mm-hmm. And so they gave Klatskanai a lot of troubles, especially. Klatskanai could not move the ball in the second half. Side note, Tim Warren is I had a lot of respect for the man. I gained a lot more after watching that defeat. He goes up to every single one of his players, hugs them, talks with them for 15 seconds, was, in near tears just talking about his team's loss. Really cares for his guys. But the point being is that those teams over there are well coached. I think this will be the same way. Very well coached, very disciplined. I just think Rainier's offense has too many weapons. They can go to the diesel. They can go to the spread. If they don't turn the ball over, I don't know how they can be stopped. So, that's kind of my prediction. Their defense has shown some weaknesses at times this year, but I just don't see that offense being stopped. They only have 2 losses. They lost to Klatskanai in, a couple of trick plays, put them on their heels, and all of a sudden they were down. And then they lost, then the opener with some, not great officiating, I hear. So I think Rainier goes and does it, which would be interesting to see the 11th ranked team in the state semis. They would, of course, play Santiam Christian, which would be Santiam Christian, I think, is the state champion to beat. But so that's going to be an interesting one. But so those are our games this week. We are really down into toward the end of the season. We're almost wrapping up everything here. We'll have all area teams coming out soon. Just very things are winding down here.
I'm going to join you in Grivesville for a minute too, since we're at state time, and this is the only time I'm going to get to chat about it for another 3 months, I'm sure. But if this is a call to arms for anybody who's interested in officiating and can study hard, work hard, know rules, understand rules, please go out and contact whoever in your area is in charge of officiating. We have some stuff up, tdmpreps.com, and I'll go and retweet some of our stuff. I saw just a week ago Woodland volleyball. I won't say because of officiating, but definitely the officiating had a large part and impacted the outcomes of each set. Woodland goes down. I saw it, horrendous officiating, and I hate talking down about officials, but this is something that that had been circulated already. I hear by a ton of other coaches. The baseball championships, state championships, semifinal. Wakayakum goes down. It's decided by a run or two, but there were egregious errors by the third base umpire who probably shouldn't have been at that game. And so the area is still in need of good officials, not just officials, but good officials, people who care, will work hard, and again, the money's good. So, if you need some extra pocket change, have some extra time, especially, if you're a college student, this would definitely be right up your alley. Contact some folks and give it a shot.
Yeah, officiating's fun. I was a soccer ref for 7 years. It's a blast. I'm trying to get back into it, but I have no time because I'm a sports editor. One thing I want to mention before we go, we had 3 Division I commits today.
Yes, we did.
That's right. I guess Desiree Hansen signs Monday. Yeah, Monday or Tuesday.
Who's Desi going with?
Portland State.
All right.
So yeah, we have Brianna Edwards going to Indiana. Andrew Walling of RA Long. So Brianna Edwards, Rainier volleyball player, fantastic. She had like 150 kills in the state tournament. So crazy.
Right.
She was surprisingly a unanimous all tournament selection.
Yeah, who knew?
It's like, yeah, when you get that many kills. And then Andrew Walling, RA Long baseball player, recently had Tommy John surgery. But Oregon State's, he said, high character guys over there still wanted to honor his scholarship. So even though he'll miss out on his senior year of high school baseball, he signed with Oregon State today. And I mean, if anybody knows Oregon State, they're a fantastic baseball program.
Yes.
And then Desi Hansen signs with Portland State basketball. I want to say it's on Monday. But obviously she's a fantastic basketball player for Rainier. Great person too. She's at every single sporting event, cheering. She's the loudest in every student section. She's getting people going. So congrats to all those 3. I cannot remember a time when this area had 3 Division I signees in a single signing period.
Mm-hmm.
So that is fantastic, and just hats off to all those 3. I've talked to 2 of them today, and just really upstanding people. And as a side note, they all have really good GPAs. So kids, if you want to go to college, whatever sport, right? Be a good student, and that helps
Recruiters
out a lot.
do look at that.
Yeah, so all those kids are good athletes, better students, great people, and that's what it takes to be a D1 kid. That's it for us. Preps Plus Podcast episode 23 is over. Our fall season is almost over, but we will try, as long as we have teams next week remaining, and I presume we will. We will try to be back here next week to break that down, hopefully in a shorter version. Thanks again to Sterling Auto Group for sponsoring the podcast, and we will see you soon.
Kobe.